According to several reports and posters that have been circulated on social media, Hammanskraal residents will apparently take part in a shutdown this morning over the water crisis there. At least 17 people have now died in the latest cholera outbreak. That's been years in the making, frankly. Currently, political parties in the capital are playing the blame game over the saga. At the same time, a finger has been pointed at the ANC in the province over the controversial Rooiwal wastewater treatment plant tender, which dates back to around 2019. So let's get their take on this now. Bring in ANC Tshwane Councillor Joel Masilela, who joins us via our video link this morning. Joel, it's great to see you. Thanks for making time indeed to weigh in. My understanding is that you're also part of the Section 79 committee in the city of Tshwane, which in some respects is meant to have some kind of oversight role to increase capacity in various functions. So let me begin here. How long have you been in this committee, and when were you notified of the long-standing issues around the supply of water in Hammanskraal?
No, I have been a member of, good morning to you and Newzroom Afrika viewers at home. I have been a member of this committee since I came into council in 2011, and our responsibilities as different political parties that are represented in these different committees. Ours is to play an oversight role, holding the executive to account, and also to work with officials who are the ones that present a master plan to a council on what is it that will need to be done over a period within the MTREF, which is your medium-term revenue expenditure framework. And in that, they are able to factor in the master plan the issue around what you would classify as both your domestic as well as international migration, the number of people that are coming into the city in search of economic opportunities, coming from different provinces as well as countries within the SADC region and across the African diaspora. And those migration into the city as well as other provinces will then necessitate a demand on infrastructure, water, electricity, issues around the land use and so forth. Now, the master plans that officials will then present to different committees are intended to help us as politicians that when the time for a budget to be allocated or apportioned, we are then able to make political decisions that are mindful or cognizant of the realities on the ground, of which in this particular context, you would know of the amount of work that the ANC would have initiated since taking over in 1994, the issues of Hammanskraal belonging to Bophuthatswana, then moving into becoming, it's historically a tribal land which belongs to the family of the Kekanes, where I come from. And then there were inroads that the ANC made because the water in Hammanskraal was extremely acidic and very salty. We then brought in an investment in the form of the water purification plant in Temba. There were efforts to reduce the acidity, and people were able to consume the water at the time. But when the administration came in of the DA, and what was supposed to happen at the time was for them to be able to take over from some of the initiatives that we had brought to fruition. Instead, what happened was they became political. We also made calls that the issue regarding the Rooiwal water waste treatment plant is going to cost more money, and there would be a need for the national government to step in ensuring that they are able to help us with regards to funding this new asset class, which will be part of the assets within the municipality. Solim Simanga, at the time, being the executive mayor, never wanted to take heed to the advices that were given, and ultimately when the tender went on advertisement around 2018, then there are also then these issues that are now coming up. Okay. What are those issues that are coming up?
Right, Joe, before you go into that, I've been trying to listen to you very closely so that you give as much context as you can, but I'm afraid the thrust of the question feels largely unanswered. I mean, as the governing party, I'm sure you're not suggesting, especially to those who've been affected by what's taking place in Hammanskraal, that all those issues only began when the DA took over.
Okay. No. We are not saying those issues in the main, like the water crisis issue, only happened only in 2016. We are saying the ANC acknowledging the fact that the issue of migration and the growth in population, like if you go to Hammanskraal today, there's been a lot of investments. People are, many shopping centers are coming up there. You've been having even Nestle investing on the Babelehi Center, which was now an upswing in investor confidence during our tenure. Now, what has happened was the master plans were intended to look into the growth in population and the demand for services. What are those demand for services? Consideration for water, consideration for sanitation. That is why we then effected those interventions through the Temba water purification plant, which is a state-of-the-art, but also working with other water boards that have historically been operating within that particular area, that the water quality had to be improved. You would know, it is evident that the blue drop water status was only experienced and provided to us. It's not an internal matter, but by those bodies that would have tested the quality of water in Tshwane. It was given only during the time of the ANC. Right. Subsequent to that, there is only this much that you can do as an administration on what you would classify as your capex investment, bringing new asset classes into the city, as well as apportioning maintenance on the side of the infrastructure that already exists. So on that side, we were then able to improve the water purification plant, which its capacity at the time was significantly low. So the ANC considered the people of Hammanskraal and made those inroads.
All right, and I'm sure people in Hammanskraal will have their own view about that. But outside of the water treatment plant itself, we know that infrastructure, the actual infrastructure that transports the water, has also been a major issue. I don't suppose that you reckon you were also hamstrung as the ANC during your time to ensure that that isn't an issue that adds to what we now can all agree is quite a crisis.
Yeah, let's rein in on the issue around the water tankers. The water tankers, where they pick up water on the systems that are managed based on the licenses that the municipality is afforded at a particular point in time. And the quality of the water has to meet the standards that are acceptable for that water to be drinkable by members of a society, which is potable water. Now, those water tankers in law and based on the contract, and these are matters that fall within the competency of a procurement and so forth. They go there to pick up the water and deliver. It is the responsibility of our own officials working with the contractors in making sure that such things are done appropriately.
All right.
Now, here is the one matter that is never communicated. The issue of transportation of water does not fall within the Department of Water and Sanitation in the city, but it is the competency of human settlements.
All right.
Human settlements is a different department that then runs the function of ensuring that water is distributed evenly to different communities. So the community of Hammanskraal The DA is not saying this. The frequency of the water trucks being made available from 7 days in a week, those trucks have been reduced from 7 days in a week to 3 days. So
sure, I'm going to have to come in there.
Problem.
Sure, all right. I think you've made your point. And I suppose what's really disheartening, for lack of a better term, is listening to you and listening to a previous politician before that, constantly shifting the responsibility to the other in a context where we now know that 17 people have sadly died to a completely preventable disease. The question, I suppose, is at which stage does anybody take accountability to ensure that this is finally fixed? But thanks for having your say. Appreciate your time on the AM Report. Joel Masilela is an ANC councillor in Tshwane.